All right. So that probably got my blink in, of course, because that's just tradition. So I'm just gonna go on YouTube and see. Perfecto. Let me just put this down, volume and live. Okay, we're live.
Oh my. Oh, I'm going to record this too.
Very good. All right. So let me just close this window. Whoever's gonna join, I'm just saying hello, good evening, good night to everybody. Name's Karen here from Quantum Healing with Tina and Karen. I'm here today with my beautiful co-host Tina.
Hello.
And today we're just hopping on to talk about some recent events that had led to more deeper healing on my part. And what exactly is healing? What is the work? We'd like to talk about that too, because we want to encourage people. It does sound like a lot of work because it's work, but that's a program too. That work is hard, and it is. Especially when it comes to having to dig deep into the treasure chest of all the
Subconscious.
subconscious things and all your all the triggers and the body reactions and the mental slavery and the what even even everything that's stored in your organs. I was talking about like doing tapping techniques and things like that, and then I was like, oh, there's more. Of course there's more. It's like those commercials, but wait, there's more. And so then I had to go into, I think I talked about the whole vagina thing too, like, so there's some sexual stuff too, and they're like, oh, wait, but there's more. So now I'm in the process of researching into regulating my nervous system, which I think is a great place to go, being guided to what's next. So that's next. So yeah, we'll talk about what the work is, at least for speaking for myself. Tina will speak for herself too. She'd like to add anything to it. And I also wanted to talk about just a little side note here while we're here, about, I guess, our work. When people come and they write us and they don't know what they want, chances are we will tell you that a remote spirit release is the best place to go. That's the best place to start. I need to say that and stress that because if you are interested in doing a quantum healing session, just anywhere, it doesn't have to be with us, anyone else. You don't want to waste your time, especially if your practitioner is not, let's say, well versed in the dark energies or entities or all the things. So it would be wise to clear up your energetic field of all these infringements so that you're not wasting 4 hours of your time conversing with these energies. And if you're not fully in your power, you might not feel comfortable enough to address them or how to take care of them, like get rid of them. So,
And your practitioner might not either, unless you choose someone
right.
that knows what they're doing.
Right. And we like to be, I guess we're pretty methodical in how we do things. But this is also based on the experience that we've had. So like I said, you don't want to waste all your time talking to entities when we could, do a really thorough, deep cleanse and sweep of your energetic field, give you some background, give you some advice where your point of vulnerability is so that you can at least be self-aware about that and take the initiative to do some work in that way. And then when you're ready or you're a little more integrated, you want to go deeper, then you could do like a quantum healing type session to go deeper.
Some
But
people
we have
say, sorry to interrupt you. Some
no
people
go-
say they don't see the point of RSR if the entities are just going to come back. And that's a good point
it
because
is.
they do come
Mhm.
back
Right. Look
unless
what happened to us. I mean, they come, no one's immune. No one is immune.
they do come back.
They
And the
do.
point of having the RSR is to have that like initial big clearing of your energy system so that you can better manage and feel into your own energy, to know what your own energy feels like for the first time, probably ever. And then you'll be able to start recognizing when something is infringing on your field. And then you learn how to manage that and clear it on your own so that you don't need us anymore. I mean, we all need help from time to time. Even Karen and I still get help from our colleagues to make sure that we're clear, you know? So I think the point is to initially like have the big clearing, and then, you know, to feel sovereign, and then go into a quantum healing session knowing that you're, you know, the potential for your higher self or another entity that's not your higher self, you know, because this happens all the time with quantum healing sessions, hypnosis work, and things like that. There are other entities that can impersonate your higher self that come through, and it happens. So this is why we always suggest, no matter where you are in your journey, to start with the remote spirit release. And this, it was created by Dr. Palmer for this very reason, like to clear up the energetic field. Specifically, it was created specifically for people that could not do hypnosis, but we started using it as a way to clear the field so that we don't have to be talking to entities in a session. Because if you come into a quantum healing session with entities, chances are they're going to show themselves, and then we're going to have a conversation with them and work on.
That's if your practitioner checks them.
Right.
So they could be disguising themselves as angels and giving you all the false light and all the good feelings when you're pretty much contracting them in. They'll take that as a contract, like, okay, they're talking to me, they like it, they love it, let me go get my blankie, and they're gonna come in. So these are just things also to be aware of if you ever work with any practitioner, to get to know them, know that if they are aware, to check. If they don't check, I wouldn't even bother. Because if they don't even question that there could be a dark energy that can come in, that's
pretending to be light, you know, and these
right.
false light beings will tell you a lot of really fluffy things that sound really nice, but it's not grounded in actual reality, and you have no way to implement that in your life, you know, in your earthly life. That's how they trick people, and that's how they come through with a lot of this like false light information that you see everywhere now, you know, with people channeling all kinds of things that they're tapping into. So point being, like, RSR in our practice is always the first step. Like that's step number one.
Step number one. And then, yeah.
And then doing the work. So
yeah. What is the work? Well, the work is really, you know, becoming very self-aware, knowing what triggers you, knowing how to, you know, learning how to soothe yourself, knowing what your coping mechanisms are, understanding what your patterns are, knowing when your thoughts are yours and when they're not, catching your thoughts when they start to cycle and you go into an abyss of victimhood. I've done all of the above, still do sometimes, you know, like, but it's catching it. It's interesting because like I can be having a moment with Tina and I could even tell her like maybe midway after I'm like having my meltdown, and I'm like, I know this is a child because I feel the child energy inside that's just wanting to, like, it pretty much has its arms up like a baby would, like, hold me and hug me and kiss me. Like it needs that. So I'm giving it a voice, but I could hear it in my tone. I could hear it in the energy, feel it through the energy. So I could call myself out on it. I know when it's there. So, which is good because I used to not. I mean, we don't realize that our parts are coming out at certain times, or they, you know, certain parts of us need things. Which is why I want to jump to where, I mean, I've been MIA on Telegram for a little bit, just really staying low key, and I'm reading things here and there, but I'm trying to stay away from, you know, I got caught in the technology stuff again, but it was distraction, so that was a red flag. But being able to recognize that, what was bothering me though was that I hadn't my grandmother died in October, end of October, and I hadn't cried since November, like a deep, ugly cry. So that's not normal for me. I'm like to cry a lot. So that's a long time to hold it, or that I felt was okay. And because of the, I guess the way that we were really going in forward motion, into 2022 and getting clients and
Really quickly.
uptake. Yeah, like
Yeah.
uptake in clientele, me traveling back and forth to the States, having homeschooling the kids. There's a lot of things going on. Again, it's just going and going and going. And I have time to cry. And I felt like I was just holding it. Like, I'm like, you're fine. Like, I'm fine. And I really did. I genuinely felt fine. And because of the uptake and all the clients and all the stuff that was going on, with shedding from the V and all that, me being worried about Tina because she's really sensitive and was being really affected by that. And then having to, always protect ourselves from psychic attacks or attacks in general. My concern was going out towards, I guess, her, to, the dog, our children. And I didn't even I was putting myself in there, like protecting myself too. But I wasn't checking in emotionally. I didn't give myself the chance because I was always on the go, go, go. I never really had a chance to sleep or to rest or be at rest because of how the schedules were going. And I don't even know what it was. Oh yeah, it was the recent psychic attacks that happened, like really bad. Like we got really nasty messages and just energy in general was coming through, and it was like, ugh, like a little uncomfortable. It made me very uncomfortable. It triggered something in me, and I don't remember what happened exactly, but
it came to this big crescendo. It felt like it was just building up. No, just in general, the energy that was coming at us.
Oh, yeah. It was a lot.
All at the same time, we were getting nasty messages on our website, and, there were other things happening coming from other people directed at us. And, it was just this buildup of energy. It just felt like arrows coming at us. And I think it was just really a lot to handle, which was finally the breaking point. It was okay, let's see. You felt you were waking up with sores in your mouth after sleeping. And we're like, what's happening here? There's something there's something we need to look at that we're not seeing.
Right.
So I'm like, I think we need to do a BQH session.
Right. But prior to that, did we have the RSRs yet? Or
yeah,
not yet? Oh no, that was the day before. No,
we had the BQH session first.
So I was being affected by the words that were coming through. They were very hurtful, and very ignorant. If anything, very ignorant. And yeah, it did affect me because there are some things where you're just like, they don't know us, so why let that bother you? But words are spells. They bothered me because it's like, fuck you, you don't even know me. So who the hell are you to send me a fucking message like that when you don't even write your real fucking name, you pussy? Sorry, that's a bad word. That's what I felt. I was just like, you're a pussy because you can't even put your real name. So yeah,
that's really cowardly. When someone writes you a message like that and can't even write their real name.
It's funny because we know where they're coming from. It says where they're coming from. And yeah, so I was able to dig a little deeper, got the IP address. So but yeah, it's just funny how that comes through, and then processing it, trying not to get my feelings hurt, but they're clearly hurt, because it's not about me, but it's Tina. If I'm gonna protect Tina, it's just get the fuck away from her. But yeah, so it affected me emotionally, and then I was getting a lot of, oh God, we had so much work to do too. And I was just I remember we connected to get online to work. And I was just, in French, we call it baboon. It's the face is that's what baboon is in French. That face, where you're looking like
Like the
that.
angry tomato face.
Yeah. I was just really upset and like, I'm fine. I couldn't even look at you in the camera. I remember that. I remember like not being able to make eye contact with you because of how upset I was. I can't hide, but I mean, I wasn't even trying to hide, but I was just like, okay, let's just do whatever, you know? Um, so I don't know.
I'm like, we're not working tonight.
Yeah, and but that whole day too, I finally let myself cry. I remember like I was just like, you know what, it's here. I was even saying it like as if like when we were talking to our colleague to clear us for RSR, I was just like, I really think you need to do Tina. Like Tina's a priority. Like we need to make sure she's okay because I'm fine. And then I was like, am I? And then I told her, and then I made sure I'm like, actually check me too. Check me. Like however you check it. Because it's funny because when people check our fields or check us individually, somehow they see a merging field. So I was asking, I'm like, could you just check me? Like if you can just do us
Separate me
individually.
out.
Yeah, just do us individually in case there's something that's hidden or whatever, you know, you never know these trickster energies. So so anyway, I cried a lot in that day. I just did a lot of tapping. So tapping techniques are just like to release. I am able to know where the pain is. So I literally like hit myself because they're stuck. And then what happens in my process is that while I'm hitting, I'm saying things out loud. That's pain, that's anger, I'm raging, I'm frustrated, I'm whatever is coming through. I feel useless, blah, blah, you know. So then I tap for it. So it feels like a 10 million, like at a scale out of 10. And then I tap it down until it feels better. I take breathers.
So
And
the
then do the
tapping,
process again.
yeah, and the tapping helps to release those emotions. So it's helping
Correct.
the body release whatever it is, the anger, the frustration, all of those things. And,
Right.
it starts out really intense. And then the more you tap, it comes down and down and down and down,
Yes.
right?
I hadn't even had time to even do that. I used to do tapping every day. Um, and then it became less and less and less. I became a little more solid, of course. And then, but I should do like check-ins. That's just my responsibility, but I didn't do it. So, so I did that a lot, ugly cried, like really fucking ugly. And then I met up with her to work. It didn't work. I was even resisting. She's like, maybe you should do a session. And I was saying, like, my body was like, absolutely not. Like, we're not doing this. I don't want to go in. Everything's fine. But I'm like, but then I told her, I'm like, I'm resisting. So we have to do it. Like, that's how it came out. I was like, I have to do it.
Reluctantly.
Yeah. But I have to say yes to my resistance because that's just what it is.
Yeah.
It's probably, it could be entities too that are like, you're not going to do it.
You're
You know?
fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did it. I was like in my feelings. She was putting me in induction and I was bawling my eyes out. I was like crying in it. So we went through like a whole process and saw things. Like I ended up back at my grandmother's like deathbed and came face to face with like a man. Anyway, I don't want to like tell the whole thing, but like we did a lot
Well,
of.
I think you should tell that. I think you should talk about your session because it was really interesting.
Can you tell them? I mean, I remember bits and pieces, but if you have like questions
Well,
or
the
things.
first scene I thought was really interesting. So when the day your Karen's grandmother was dying, she went to the home to be with her. She woke up that morning. She knew that she was going to die that day. And she went to be with her to help her cross over.
Right.
They were in the room. Her aunt and uncle were there. She left to go get water from the car. And as she was walking back, she runs into this man in the hallway who was in a wheelchair.
Oh, I saw him before I got the water.
Oh, before you got the
Yeah,
water.
yeah. But so I was at.
So you tell the story.
No, it's fine. But it's the same. It's fine. The point is that I was at one end of the hall and he was at the other, and I was going to the end, which is the exit, to get the water. So when I was coming out of my grandmother's room, he was there staring at me, sitting in a wheelchair without a leg, like he was amputee. And I made eye contact, and for whatever reason, and I don't do this, if I make eye contact with someone that I don't know, there's no fucking way I'm saloon walking towards them like eye to eye. It's not, I'm gonna look at the floor because there's
Like
no
you
way I'm
felt like you were drawn in.
drawn. It's a word. So I go to him. He shakes my hand and he tells me condolences. And I said, thank you. But I didn't tell him, like, she's not dead yet. I just didn't say it. But I was like, thank you. Like, went to go get water. I came back. My grandmother died within 10, 15 minutes after that. Not even. It was short. So yeah, it was real short. Yeah, short. But anyway, that's what happened in real time, like October. But when I landed in the scene, the same thing. I was at the end of the hall. I saw him and I told her, I forgot how it came about, but I said that I feel split. Like I split in 3 parts, and it appeared to me like 3 pieces of grass coming out of my head. So I was just like, one of them is, or I'm dissociating now. Another part, I don't remember what one part was, but the part that we explored was a younger child self.
Yeah,
So we
the
were
first
like,
time that child split off.
yes. So that came through. And so she's like, okay, let's go back in time and see where that leads, or where, what the root of that is, I guess, something like what you said. So we went back in time, and it was 1985 or something like that, 85, 86. So I was about 2, 3 years old ish. And we landed at my dad's father's funeral, like burial site. And my whole family was hysterical, like crying and throwing themselves. It was very dramatic. I felt very overwhelmed as a little baby, having to witness and feel the immense emotion, entities
I can't even
everywhere.
imagine what that would have been like for a baby. Like,
yeah, because my mother is very sensitive. I know that. And she felt very closed off and like she was cringing herself. Not cringing, but she was also holding herself. So, the empath in her was like in survival too. So we have a weird tradition that I was remembering at that moment, where my father was passing me over the hole, the coffin hole, and passing me to his brother, my uncle. But my uncle was not my uncle. It was an entity. It was actually the Grim Reaper. Did we come to that conclusion right away, or we did not?
no, we came to that conclusion at the end when you saw the wheelchair guy was the Grim Reaper too.
Right.
That's
which is why I split. That hair split was from that memory of the child being passed to the Grim Reaper. And me, the reason why the splits came up at that moment was because I came face to face with him again.
Right.
Which was really fascinating. And whoa, what a full circle there. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, anyway.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of entities there. I don't remember like what more, but we also went into, I guess we were asking questions about my mouth or what happened to my mouth. I don't know if that's where it led to, or it came up by itself. But I saw that I wasn't sleeping. Oh, this is another reason why I was going down the shitter, was because I stopped sleeping. I was sleeping maybe 2-3 hours a night. Which is, exhaustion's never a good thing, especially when you're doing the work, battling all the time. So yeah, we saw that I was being, oh my God, there was like a gray alien that was in my face. I think that I've seen gray aliens in sessions. I've touched a gray alien in session. But when I'm in session, I don't see things in the way that they are, let's say, in a 3D setting, like how you would see texture, how you would see eyes, or, like details like that. I see them I feel like as if it's easier for me to see them as Muppets, let's say. I said this before, or cartoons or references to shows or characters so that I could better explain them to Tina.
And it's more of a dream-like state, I think.
Yeah. In this case, it was so vivid, like I was there again. It was right in my face. I saw the big black eye right in my face, and that I was able to see my reflection in the eye. When I looked just a little bit to the right, I saw the texture of the gray skin, gray green almost. And it scared me actually to see it like that, because I don't usually see things like that, like Tina was saying. So I was seeing that they were injecting something in my mouth about like trying to try to dumb down my emotional body. I think that's what it, the gist of what they were doing. That was the night before we had the session. So that was actually, or whatever happened that night. And my kids were floating up against the wall, like right here, like where I leave my computer. And there was part of me, I was so mad, so fucking mad, because I do my protections at night. And I'm always demanding, I'm like, well, technically, they did respect that I said I do not consent to being abducted physically or etherically. They didn't abduct me, but they did. But the thing that I don't even know where the hole went in, where they came in, because I also don't consent to being manipulated or tricked into any experimentation. Maybe I wasn't tricked into it. I was asleep. I don't know. I got to be specific. Like, there's just, it's all trial and error.
You were in a really vulnerable place too, which is I think why they were able to get through. This is why we're talking about this, because yes, RSR is the first step, but then you have to do the work so we did this session to find the holes, to find the access points, to find how they were getting in and why. And it was because of these traumatic events that you hadn't yet looked at, these traumatic memories that were still existing within your form.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw that and was able to pull the liquid out, like kind of like rewind time, I think. And or if not, like remove the liquid from myself or whatever.
You flushed, we flushed the liquid out of the body and then reframed that whole memory as if it never happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it feels less, I mean, in terms of the intensity of it.
Oh, you feel back to yourself again. Definitely. Like
right now?
Yeah.
Oh, good. You're like, no,
yeah,
you need
no,
another session.
I was a little bit worried because the energy was very similar to the fall, or when was it, December, when we did the whole metaverse thing. The energy was very similar to that. And again, there were grays involved in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. So yeah, dumbing down, making you feel like disconnected, distracted. Yeah.
So we healed that, and then we saw that there was an abduction. We went to that place because this Yoda-like being came through.
Oh yeah, that was at the burial site. There was a Yoda saying something.
We can still get to you, he said. We can still get to you. And then we went to the scene with the gray, and then we went to
the backyard, my old house.
The backyard, yeah.
Yeah, there was a ship there, but it wasn't, I don't remember what happened there per se, but.
Well, you were little, you were 3 to 6 months old, and that one of those blue furry Muppet beings was holding you, which I think was a screen cover for something else. I don't think it was really a blue Muppet.
Probably. But thank you for screen covering yourself, because I don't think I would have been able to take it.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm saying too. Like as much as we see, these beings, or at least like you see them through my mind's eye and how I describe them to you. And I'm pretty sure you see what I see. you know, we see them all the time and it's fine. And I can't even imagine, like, you know, like the people talking about going to 5D and saying like the aliens are going to come and pick us up. I was face to face with it in my, and I couldn't take it. It terrified me. Actually, I'm going to go to that later about one that I felt in the hallway physically. There's a difference. I had a little bit of an encounter in the hallway of my apartment where I felt an energy present looking at me. Now, there's a difference between an energy that you feel versus an energy of something physical looking at you. You all know what that feels like. Okay.
Which I think was the same being that was in my room the week before. Amanda confirmed that. It was the same being. I felt it right next to
Oh,
my
the
bed.
shadow being.
Yeah,
Right.
it was a shadow being.
Right. So I have a second bedroom in my apartment that's just across the hall from my bedroom. And that's my kids' room. And the bathroom's right in between. So I had to go to the bathroom and I felt something there. I'm not scared of the dark or anything like that, but I felt something. And I was like, okay, let me just go pee. And when I came back to face my room, like to go back, I turned right to go back to my room. I got this shiver that, again, something is there. And when I turned my back, I felt an air on my neck. And I fucking ran like a child to my room. I closed the door. I jumped on the bed. I only used to do this with my sister when we used to watch Unsolved Mysteries, like back in the day. Jump on the bed because I didn't want anything to grab my feet. Went under the covers and I did like a literal like arm thing, like whatever energy I could give out of my fear, like to blast the room or my apartment to get it out of here. Like that intention was strong, like get the fuck out of here. And I imagine like a detonation of like a, you know, atomic bomb style, you know, that kind of thing.
Atomic bomb style.
Yeah, I had to but I made a like a scream. I had to just for the effect of it, like so that I could feel that I was
Powerful.
not in fear. Yeah, I had to fake it. Fake it.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah. So where was I with that? So anyway, I wanted to go back to that about the people like the ones who are going to 5D with the aliens, and there's no fucking way that your body would, unless you've seen many and in the flesh and are friends with them and go to the bar, but there's no fucking way that a normal person or a regular person would be like, hey alien, like, yeah, let me get my bags, I'll be right there. Like there's no way. There's no way. Your body is going to be in fear.
Right. Like, because it was the same thing I was saying, like when I had that encounter, I wasn't mentally afraid of it at all, but I could feel the spine tingling chills. My body was reacting
scared
to
as
it.
hell. Yeah.
Because the body is alerting you to danger. Like we have fear for a reason, you know. Everybody kind of demonizes, demonizes fear, but it really does alert us to potential danger, and we need to listen to that. But yeah, I know what you're talking about with those like spine tingling chills. I've had them a handful of times. It's usually when I'm in between, like in the theta state, like in between asleep and awake. But I have had it one time wide awake, and I was babysitting, and the baby was upstairs sleeping. Mm-hmm. The monitor was on, and I start feeling this presence behind me, and I get the spine tingling chills. Like I feel the fear, and I start feeling like this
something in your hair.
It was like an electric, almost like pins and needles almost on like my crown right here. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And then all of a sudden the baby wakes up screaming on the monitor.
Oh my God.
So I knew for sure this was before. I mean, I was awake, but not to this extent. But I knew there was, and she was not a baby that ever cried, like never, ever,
Right.
ever, ever, ever cried. And especially not waking up from sleep like that. So there was definitely a presence there. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't good because my body was alerting me that it wasn't good. So, but yeah, I know. And I've had it a couple of times before where, you know, you're in that in between state. It would actually happen twice with the sleep paralysis that I experienced very briefly. And I felt like I was able to come out of it quickly because I wasn't afraid. Like mentally, I wasn't afraid, but I felt my body reacting to whatever the energy was that was there.
Totally.
But yeah.
Totally. Yeah. So, okay. So that was a side note.
Yeah, totally off topic.
No, it's okay. All relevant. So yeah.
So we were at the abduction scene
Okay.
when you were a baby.
Anything else?
Well, I think it's important to notice too, like there were other things going on, and like with that gray thing, there was an implant there or something too, wasn't there? Oh no, what was interesting about that is so the gray comes in your room, injects you I think 3 separate times, right?
Three
That
separate
night,
places,
3 separate places in your mouth.
which is
The kids are floating in the air. You're viewing this memory. The kids are floating in the air. The next day, right, you took them to the dentist and they both had infections
on
in the same tooth.
Right.
Which
And
we
on the
found,
same and on the same side as me. Like all my shit was on the left, and they had shit on the left side on the same tooth, like same infection.
yeah. I mean, what are the chances of that? So we found out when we had the clearing that that was an implant that their body was trying to push out.
Right.
Crazy.
Right.
Like,
Right.
and this was all happening in like, you know, span of 2 days.
Yeah, because the next day after that, we had RSRs back to back. Actually, I had mine, and then Tina had hers, but it kind of incorporated both of us in both of them. So, I mean, that was a lot of work, energetic work that was done in a really short period of time. So yeah, I needed to regroup myself. Go out in nature, like whatever. I went up north, like in the mountains, with my family, to a cottage. But even at that, it was really difficult because like my entire family has the V. So I was being attacked by the AI shedding. So I came home and my lips were completely swollen from that. That's usually my thing. And yeah.
Yeah. Well,
shitty.
back to the gray incident real quick. I thought it was interesting that, so this is what I was getting to. After the injections that he did, he put you into like this trance like state where you fell into a dream. And the dream was meant to distract you from what had just happened. Like you like dreamt this, you were in a field, there was like mold everywhere and you were pushing the leaves around or something. Like it was a really stupid dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really remember it, but I mean, like I've had many dreams like that, which was a little suspicious. And I don't know if they're just like destruction dreams. Well, clearly
Right.
this one, yes.
Yeah.
Or they're inception dreams too, like
It
to
was
just deepen the, your trance state.
right. Well, that's
Yeah.
what you were saying. It was a distraction. It was like a distraction from what just had happened so that you would remember the dream and not what had happened to you. This was the first time any kind of abduction or like this kind of alien stuff came up in any of your sessions. And I know you were really resistant to it. So
You were? I was?
you were. Yes.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You even said it. I'm
Oh, am I?
resisting. Yeah.
Oh, good. See, I was really in
you
it.
said I'm resisting, but I'm hearing abduction.
Oh yeah.
I know you've felt that in the background, but you've been resisting seeing it for a really long time. So I was really proud of you for actually going there.
Thanks.
Yeah. Those aren't, I mean, it's not an easy thing to see and to deal with. So, it takes a lot of bravery and courage, and you really went for it. So we also
Yeah.
found out that, this Yoda type being, which we've seen in other abduction scenarios before, then there was like some heart implants they had. So everything they've been doing to you was to try to shut down your abilities, like your emotional body, what you use to connect in and to get information so that you can help not only yourself, but other people.
Right.
So we found out that everything that they've ever done to you was for that, which they've obviously failed at, like, big time, you know, but they
Yeah.
try.
Yeah. Fuck. They try, those assholes. It's
Yeah.
like, it's so messed up. Like just the things, and this is what I want to stress to the people who don't feel like, they're not in their power yet. I just want to stress that like for me, I've been doing like the deep, deep, deep healing work since 2016, like when I hit my dark night of the soul. So, and it's ongoing, ongoing and ongoing and ongoing. So, though there may have been a gap since my last healing or whatever, active healing, um, it you have to like build yourself, but know how to maintain, know how to catch it, know who's speaking. You have to know yourself so well that you know what child's speaking inside, that what subpersonalities out, uh, like your patterns, know what the healthy patterns are. And then when it becomes unhealthy, in order to recognize that there's, someone's here that shouldn't be here, or that's kind of peeking their way in and wanting to get your attention or something like that, or sabotaging you,
Yeah. Well, it is really at the very root of it. It's about knowing yourself. How well do you know yourself? And it is a process. It takes time. It's a lifetime worth of knowing yourself and uncovering deeper and deeper layers of who you are, and recovering deeper and deeper memories. I mean, we've been doing this work for a few years now. We're just getting to these super traumatic memories.
Yeah.
So, there's this idea out there that comes specifically from Dolores Cannon that anyone only ever needs one quantum healing session. And that's just so not true. So not true.
No.
No.
Well, then, because then it would be like a really long one,
Like a,
like a 3 week
yeah,
intensive.
yeah,
No, you have to really it's in layers, because you have to integrate and then continue
right.
life and be able to see it again, patterns. It's all about the self-awareness and recognizing the patterns so that you can break from them, create new healthier ones or something. um
Yeah.
Understanding yourself on that, like however which way that it's presenting it, because I used to get triggered for a lot of things. And I think the reason why I went into a tailspin spiral, like from being hurt by those words, it brought me back to childhood too. Like when I was either being bullied at school and they used terrible words, or, even with my sister or and my cousin, like, ignoring me, or, calling me names. Like it's things like that
Right.
that just come up that you're not even aware of or remembering.
Right.
So
And
yeah.
it's important to make those connections, even if you don't necessarily need to have a session to do that. You can just say, okay, this is really triggering me right now, like more than it actually should be. So,
Mhm.
what is the connection there? Where did I first start to feel like this? And then you start to recall those things. I was made fun of, I was bullied, whatever it was, like, and making that connection and just understanding yourself and where this big emotional feeling is coming from. And that helps to begin to release it, So you're like, oh, okay, that's my child who's really wounded right now.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, what else did we see there?
Well, I thought it was interesting because so when they had taken you when you were a baby onto the ship, that was a physical abduction. They placed you on the table and like they were just like prodding at you and just to like check, they were checking your vitals telepathically. You said like they could see through your skin. So they were just checking you out. And then the words that came through was prepping for mismatch.
What the fuck does that mean? I don't remember.
That's what I said. I'm like, well, I don't know what that means. So, okay. So what we found out too, well, what was confirmed to us was that you did come to Earth to try to help. You came from outside the system. And because of that, you pass through. So what we've seen is that the souls that come in from outside of Earth, they pass through this like filter coming in.
Out of this matrix, by the way, just to be clear.
Yeah, outside of this matrix. So when they're coming in, they pass through the filter, and as their soul passes through the filter, it dims their light. And then what we saw from this session is it also creates a contract and cords that already are attached to the soul coming into this matrix. And so what they were doing when they said they were prepping for mismatch was they were trying to make it difficult for you to connect with your innate abilities. So not only did you have to pass through that filter and lose some of yourself while coming in and be contracted and corded, then they were also trying to limit your capacity for tapping into your innate abilities that you brought with you.
Right.
So your ability to see was targeted. So they were pinpointing your strengths to make them your weaknesses, which your sight, whether that's physical or third eye sight, that was your strength. And what they did was they took that away from you, and overnight you physically couldn't see.
Right. Right. I remember.
Yeah.
That's
to which you said you blamed your parents for neglect because they never took you for an eye exam.
Yeah. I remember even saying that too, all the time.
Yeah. But it wasn't their fault. Like it literally happened overnight, and it was from these abductions. They blocked your throat. They put this like rock around your heart. You don't remember? No?
No.
Yeah, you were pretty deep at that point. They also put a device on your sacral to help siphon your creative energy.
Oh, okay. Was that also relative to all the sexual stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. They were collecting that energy as a way to create their own technologies. So they were using your creative energy to create their technologies. What came through is that the sexual energy, human energy, is very potent. It creates really fast and magnifies really fast. So I think that the image you saw was like a picture being colored, and with sexual energy, it's colored in really fast, and with just regular like loose energy, it's just like normal. But the sexual energy like speeds up the manifestation of things.
Okay. Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was yeah. Their energy is like the opposite of like creator energy, which is why they need human energy to create.
Gotcha.
Which is interesting because we saw that recently too in another session about how they were harvesting human energy using the pyramids.
Mm-hmm.
Harvesting the human energy using the pyramids to then like siphon off and like collect somewhere in the Himalayas. And in that space, it was like in some kind of cave or something. They were collecting all this energy and then also using that to create technologies. Yeah. And it's this like whole program. It's like some kind of program. And this is where all of our technology stems back to these like negative ETs that have created this, like for the AI to take over.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, there was that. Then we cleared all the contracts with that Yoda type being.
Yoda.
Then we talked about like your health and the vaccine and why like you're so sensitive to it.
Like
So
the shedding or
the
just
shedding. So it says your body reacts to it as if it's like an invasion. So it's like the cells are buzzing, the nervous system is overloaded, and it's trying to fight off these invaders, which is why, you know, your lips swell and you know, those kinds of symptoms.
yeah.
And then also the parasites come in.
Oh yeah, because I learned I had to eat better. And I was pissed.
Like Karen here. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, then the 360 happened right after that. I ended up back at the end of the hallway and then
No, you
No?
didn't. You went, no, you
More?
went to when you were 7 years old at your grandparents' 50th anniversary, where the
Oh,
dove died.
oh. Why did I go there?
You, because the dove died. You were, so there were doves at this party at the 50th anniversary in the Philippines. You were in the Philippines, right? And there were doves at this party, and you just thought it was ridiculous that they had these doves inside at this party and they
How did we
weren't
get there?
free.
I don't know. I would have to listen back.
I'm not sure how we ended up there.
It's okay. I still have to
But
look.
it was another access point. It was another way they were getting to you through this fear, because what we saw happen was, so you were taking care of the doves. You were like 7, taking care of the
They were all
doves.
making fun of me for taking care of the doves because I thought it was so mean that they would bring these poor little animals to the reception hall. And then we're gonna leave them there. And I was like, no, we gotta bring them back. And I remember gathering them, like the 2, and I was bringing them on the bus because we had a family bus to get to the thing. And I had the doves. And then we brought them home back to Manila at the house. And they were making fun of me for taking care of the doves. And I think I went away for a little bit to go to the bathroom or something. And I came back and one of them was dead.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah. So what we saw was you came back to your cousin who was holding the bird, and the bird was dead. But there was an entity involved there too. Like there was no reason for that bird to die. It was this manta ray type entity that did it to traumatize you. It was another point of trauma. See, this is what we mean by doing the work. It's revisiting this trauma in order to heal it, because these are all access points. So if Karen still has this fear in her body related to this incident, then that's an access point for these entities to hook in.
Oh, that makes sense about the manta ray because it reminds me of when I went to Mexico with my ex and we were snorkeling and there was a manta ray and I flipped the fuck out in the water.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. So there was a lot of fear around that, feeling helpless, angry, feeling really bad, you know, all of these emotions that are still stuck in the body because you didn't have a safe enough space to process through that. And everyone was just laughing at you because it's just a stupid dove, right? You know, who cares about the bird? But that was traumatic for you and as a 7-year-old sensitive little girl. And, you know, is another way for them to hook in because you're carrying the vibration of that fear in your body.
Right. Right. Okay, yeah. And then we next up was the little kitty cat, the little kitten. There was a cat, mama cat, who had babies, and I was taking care of the kittens. And then I picked one up and it didn't have a fucking head, and I threw it because I was so scared. And then I was able to see what did that, and it was another entity called an aswang. Is that right? And an aswang in Filipino is pretty much like a, what does it look like? It's like it's almost demonic looking,
It
like
looks
a
very demonic, like vampiric,
vampire, yeah,
demonic.
demon.
It looks like a demon, yeah.
It was there. I saw it, and I even can see it right now where it was standing or where it was on top of the piece of shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bit the head off of the little kitten.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was another trauma point for me. It's all animals.
Yeah. Yeah. They're big traumas. So again, like it's the same feelings, feeling helpless, powerless, fearful, devastated, anger. Actually, you felt your body shaking too. So there was definitely like a physical release of those energies.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely the body shakes are good. So just so that we can continue talking about the work, in order to release from the body, you can do the bilateral tapping. I think there's like is it the EFT? Is that what it's called? Yeah, there's EFT that you can do. I do bilateral tapping or finding places on my body that feel that the emotion is trapped. And then, yeah, like she was saying, like when I was doing the session, my body was physically shaking.
Right.
Yeah.
Because when we experience trauma and don't have a proper place or a safe place to process through that trauma, it gets trapped in the body. Like, for example, you know, when you see an animal get into a fight or being, you know, a gazelle being chased by a lion and that gazelle gets away, that gazelle is going to shake until it releases all the energy of that fight or flight response, right? And it's going to shake. Or if you see like animals get in a fight and then they shake after, they're releasing all the energy from that. But as children who don't have a safe place to do that, we don't release it. We don't get to shake it off. We stuff it in and it gets stuck in our bodies. And that's why we need to revisit these memories to in a safe space to allow ourselves to finally release the energy of it. It's all just energy stuck in the body. And this stuck energy, these low vibrational things like helplessness and powerlessness, feeling helpless and powerless is going to attract entities, right? So that's what makes you vulnerable. So that was a big vulnerability point to have those vibrations stuck in your
Yes.
body.
And again, to reiterate, though in an adult mind, you can feel that it's not rational or I'm not scared of that, but the body still holds the memory or that part of you, the child, let's say in my case, that's still within, because you can't banish parts of yourself. You have to either integrate them or, you know, address them so that you can integrate them. That's the ultimate goal. But they're speaking out loud in the body. And so recreating that body reaction inside. Right. So therefore that could be your point of vulnerability too, because that is an opening. It may not be you, adult self upstairs, but it could be the child inside that is having that reaction. And the body is
in the body. Yeah, because the body doesn't lie. The body keeps score of everything that's ever happened in our lives. Mm-hmm. You know, so even mentally, if you're, you know, okay with something like Karen's saying, the body might still be triggered. So you might, you know, say someone says something to you, like the message we got on the website, and that creates this big trigger within you. That's the body saying something's here that's not yet resolved. You know, mm-hmm. And even mentally, you know, that shouldn't hurt my feelings. It still does. So that's where you go back and say, okay, this big emotional trigger is related to the first time I felt this, like as a child when I was being bullied and not accepted at school or whatever it is. It's creating those connections so that when you understand yourself better, you're able to take care of yourself better.
Yeah. And I appreciated that that all happened, honestly, though it was like not kind. Um, you know what? Like, even if the entities had concocted some kind of thing, and even if the ignorance of that person was whatever, you know what? I'm going to use that to my advantage and
Yeah.
heal, take it, and be like, thank you for doing it. Because I could just, feel sorry for myself and be like, oh, they don't know me and it hurts and whatever, and stay there and hold.
Yeah.
Or I could be like, why does that still hurt? So, yeah, I went for the healing part because that's just what for, like,
Well, that's what we, tell people all the time. Like, you can either be a victim of these circumstances or you can use them to your advantage, because everything is pointing to something you can heal, and when you take those things and, you know, reflect on it, and you can dig deeper into yourself and heal whatever that is that's coming up. So you can be in a place of, neutrality and observation more often than being reactive and being triggered. I think that's really the point of where we're all trying to get to, is to be able to exist in a place where you're not feeling those big ups and downs, but you're just content and neutral and able to observe it and observe yourself without, reacting so quickly to things.
totally.
And then because when you do, that creates an opening for the entities to slip in.
Oh, yeah, totally. But being able to recognize the entities so you could get rid of them. So
Right.
that's the whole thing. It's like, and like we were saying to a specific client about that, like, what's the point of the RSRs if they're going to come back? Well, again, we're not, Tina and I, this is our work. This is what we do for a living. And we're not immune. If anything, we get attacked all the fucking time. Like, but gonna have to keep going.
Well, right. And it's about just learning the process on how to recognize these things when something doesn't belong in your field, and then how to deal with it,
Yeah. And recognizing how they use other people to manipulate the whole situation, and you just have to see it, recognize it. That's all it is. And being like, okay, I'm not going to play into that.
I just want to scroll through the comments real quick.
Say hi to everybody. Sorry that if we're ignoring y'all.
I know.
It's just, yeah, we're just talking and talking.
Does anyone have any questions?
Hi to everyone. I see that there's a couple here. Maybe. Can you help someone that has osteoarthritis? I mean, this is the thing. We can help anyone. But there's two sides of the stick. The side that we're on and the side that you're on. And we have to both lift it. It's not just, we're here for a quick fix. We're here to get rid of your stuff. You have to do work too. So we want you to, become so empowered, so independent and sovereign on your own, that we're here to bridge the gap, or to help you get there, or at least show you where the bridge is, because we can't make you walk over it.
Because all healing is self-healing.
All healing. This is what I'm doing.
Is like, self-healing.
I couldn't be where I am now had I not done the work. It has to click for you. Like, it has to click for me. I didn't understand things until it made sense. Like, it had to make sense to me. So you could know all the theory, but if you don't know how to apply it or know what that feels like in yourself in your everyday, then it didn't click yet.
Yeah.
It has to click. So yes, we could help you. We could answer some questions for you on an energetic level, but we work on the energetic side, but we are also in the physical too. So the physical part is where you come in as the client, and we can do all the energetics that you want. But if the physical is not going to support the energetic, it's not going to integrate.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I don't know. I hope that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And also too, that's like on the, energetic RSR side. But if you go deeper and have your own quantum healing session and look for yourself, with your own divine self to see what is the root cause of this osteoarthritis. Is it related to some kind of past life injury or curse or attachment or any trauma, anything? Just looking at what is the spiritual root cause of this and how can I heal it? And then implementing that in your everyday life. It's you that has to carry forward that information and put it to use. So
yes, definitely.
And knowing and believing that you're powerful enough to heal. This is number one.
We keep stressing that to people.
Number one.
Yes. We've gotten like a handful, more than a handful of people that are coming. We sympathize with people who are heavily targeted, who have experienced a lot of shit. Okay. like when I tap into the energies like of some clients, like when they come and write to us, I could see it already. We could both see it already, like how bad it is. And we do tell them, we're like, listen, I just need to put this disclaimer out here. We're not here for the bucks. Okay. It's not for the money. But like when we tell people like, okay, you probably need more than one session, it's because there's so much compounded shit in there that one session is not going to be enough. It's just like me. I'm still working on myself. I still had another BQH. I still had another 2 RSRs back to back because I have to sift and go deeper and deeper and deeper. It's never ending work. But when you're highly targeted like that and you've been going through decades of stuff, yes, maybe the first clearing, if you're really sensitive, you could probably feel the effects of it right away. But it would highly recommend, like we highly recommend that you probably have to do follow-ups to ensure that it's clear. It's clear and clear and clear.
Yeah. And not only that, but healing is an ongoing process. It's mentorship. It's digging deeper and looking at those traumas. Like there's no quick fix.
No,
there's no quick fix.
Not in this matrix.
No, because everything takes so long to manifest in the physical because of how dense it is here. And then on top of that density, there's the inversion of it all. So it does take longer to like we can do energetic work in an instant, but it takes longer sometimes to manifest in the physical. And, it could take a couple years, say, to heal from something like osteoarthritis. But you have to put in the work. You have to, number one, the belief in your own power to heal is the most important thing ever, 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 ever.
That has to be the belief, on the priority.
The belief in yourself and your power to heal is everything. It's everything. Yeah. If you don't believe in your power to heal, if you don't believe in the work that we do, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. You have to believe in yourself. And if you could just do that one thing, if you could just have that belief in yourself and your power to heal, really, that's like 50% of the work.
Yeah.
It really is.
Because some people have to reach their rock bottom too.
Right. And, if you look into the work of Bruce Lipton, he's spent his career doing this very thing, the biology of belief, how our beliefs affect our biology, and so a lot of it comes in the subconscious programming. What do you really believe about yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that you're enough? Do you believe that you're worth it? Do you believe that you deserve it? Do you believe that you're valued? Do you believe that, your presence on this earth is worthy and good? Or what are the beliefs that you have about yourself? What are the beliefs that you have about your body? Do you believe in your body? Do you believe in its capability to heal? There's a lot of subconscious programming that needs to happen too, because it's those subconscious beliefs that are dictating to our body what it's actually doing physically. And that's where the work comes in. Like really digging in, finding where those subconscious beliefs are, and then reprogramming the mind to believe something different. This is the whole point of quantum healing, really, when it comes down to it, is reprogramming the subconscious mind. Because when we go into a quantum healing session, we're connecting into the subconscious to see what's hiding out in here. And our subconscious runs 95% of our life. 95%. 5% of what we do during the day is conscious. 95% is subconscious, unconscious. So if that's true, then most of what we're doing is being run by old limiting belief systems
and programs, which we need to override.
Yeah.
And or see. Again, back to patterns, back to knowing yourself, back to seeing, observing yourself instead of acting within yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, man. What else? We're talking about what else about the work, or we're still talking about the BQH?
Huh? You can go on. Oh,
right.
so what I thought was really cool was that at the end of your BQH, we came back to the original scene where you were in the hallway with that Grim Reaper guy.
Yeah.
And so we reframed it. You weren't as scared. You were in your power, your new superpower.
Yeah, and I came out as John Cena. Oh, God. I love that. That's funny.
How did that happen?
I don't know. I just thought it was so funny. I know, like, my higher self has a sense of humor.
Your higher self does have a sense of humor. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we saw that during that scene, a part of your soul had actually fractured off because of the trauma of it.
Right. Right. Because I relived the death again. Seeing it from I guess again, it was all a mental thing where I knew she was dying. I knew my grandmother was dying. But there's something about witnessing it and knowing or whatever, because then I felt my body, I was getting out of body at that point.
Right. But that was because that was related back to the funeral where you were passed over the grave. That was that your body in that moment was experiencing that all over again without being consciously aware of it.
Ding, ding, ding. Healed ish. Yeah. So that was a really cool BQH session. Very, it helped a lot. And I was actually just in my everyday, or just like today or the other day, I was feeling my energy and I was like, oh my God, I am lighter and better. I actually do feel lighter today. I feel that I release something. I feel it. Like, it could be so subtle. Just like how you don't even realize you're in pain until you're in pain, like out of pain, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I cried a lot that day. I felt like it was a really deep, ugly cry, but necessary. And I remember judging myself while it was happening. I'm like, God, I can't let you let it come this far. And I was like, just let yourself go. And I was just like crying. But yeah.
So how did you feel different after that healing?
A huge weight was definitely lifted. It was an emotional weight, that's for sure. For sure, for sure, for sure. So, because I know my emotional body, I know my practically all the bodies. So like when I was talking to you and I was just like even actively saying, I go, I know this is my inner child. I know that it's here, it's very present, and it's talking. I know I'm having a tantrum right now. Like I feel it. So that was part A. And then, but after the release, just crying and letting myself see things and doing the active healing, like Tina was guiding me into the healing. Yeah, I let go of a lot. It was really like, okay, I'm good. I'm ready to let it go.
Yeah, crying in itself is such a huge release.
Yeah, and I don't like if anyone has ever like really known me from watching the videos, like I didn't cry for a fucking long time. I didn't cry since the second scene in there, 1986 till yeah, till 2016. I didn't cry.
Yeah.
So crying became a thing, like where it was just like I had to let myself have the feelings without judging myself for having them.
Because as a child, you were reprimanded for crying. You were locked in the garage. Again, like this
Yeah,
always relates back to trauma.
right. So yeah, but then yeah, I had to normalize the feelings and emotions, have them, work my way through having them without judging it or trying to shut it down, because there is still a programming that I do feel sometimes of like I don't want to feel that. It's uncomfortable. It's like, we all know the feelings. Like, I don't want to feel that. That's uncomfortable. And then your mind is going because it's trying to soothe. So filling in the blanks of like trying to make a happy ending in your head, right? But then after that, it's just like, it's not going away. So what are you supposed to do? Okay, I used to take a nap. Okay. But I mean, I would start to have it, allow myself to feel, allow myself to understand it, tap through it. Tapping is actually really good because then you're able to put the voice to the emotions. So being able to recognize my emotions or what the feelings are. That was a good thing for me. I remember like when we first started tapping, Tina was guiding me into doing the bilateral tapping. And she's like, so what are you feeling? And it was hard at first for me to come up with stuff, like we only say like anger and sadness. That's it, because we're so limited to those two extremes when there are things in between, like disappointment and what else?
Frustration.
Yeah, frustration,
worry, grief.
yeah, all the other little subtypes,
Helplessness, powerlessness.
Yeah, feeling stupid, like really saying them out loud, because a lot of the things that we hold back are the things that I guess that we as adults are replaying as what we were told as children, like you can't cry for nothing or cry for nothing. That's not a reason, whatever it was that you were shut down for. So being able to put them without judging yourself of saying, I felt really stupid. I felt very invalidated. Um, it was not fair. Like those kind of things. That wasn't fair. It was unjust. That kind of stuff. So that's a good practice for you to recognize what your emotions are, what you're feeling in that moment without holding back, being honest with yourself, because that's what you owe yourself. It's honesty. And to give those parts of yourself, I see you. What did you want as that child when you were crying? You just wanted, it was me having my hands up and being hold me. Like, that's what you have to do to yourself, is to hold yourself and to listen and to know what they need. So, I mean, those tactics even too work, like where I would hold myself, like I would literally have my hands here, one under, and just squeeze. It's just the tightness or the feeling. It feels funny at first when you do it, but at the same time, it's like, that you need this, you need that touch. No one else is going to give it to you if you're alone. So I mean, like, to hold yourself, like there's no shame in that. And a lot of my stuff was mental too. So this was like, okay, at first my process was in conquering my mental mind. It was really perception at first, where I had gone through, I was such an asshole kid, and dissociating a lot and hating my life, depression, anxiety, all the things. And then I remember I went into I had a massive like anxiety attack that I had to be put in a hospital for a bit. And they told me that I had depression, major depressive disorder, and anxiety or chronic anxiety or something. And I was so relieved because they finally gave me something that I felt validated for. Like I didn't feel crazy anymore. So I changed my perspective about things, where I was like, oh, it's no big deal. I find, don't worry, be happy. If you're really upset or you feel like your mood is like shit, just smile for a bit and it'll change your mood. And it did. And but then to the extreme of that, the pendulum swings one way. I'm depression. Now I'm in the opposite, and I'm accepting all kinds of shitty behavior and making, like, not excuses, but saying, oh, it's okay, because I understood them on a level. I didn't have any boundaries yet. Okay. So just saying, I didn't have boundaries yet. So I would accept bad behavior because I would understand them on a deep level. They're just not feeling well. They could treat me like shit because I totally get where they're coming from, and it's fine. I know better and they don't.
You understand why they're doing it. You understand their wounding and why they're treating you like shit. So you make excuses for them. Yeah.
Right. So I accepted it. I accepted bad behavior. Fast forward, I'm married, kids, and then I'm like, okay, this is not. I had my awakening in between my two children. So I had one child unconscious and one child conscious. And again, another change in perspective. I remember focusing so much on all the bad stuff, and I was like, I had my awakening, and just like a flick of a switch, was able to see life in a different way. And it really opened my eyes. And so I was just like, wow, now I could finally for real this time be happy. Really be happy. And but again, I still didn't. The pendulum swung another way, the other side again, and I accepted again. Accepted bad behavior. I just accepted what was, but I took all the responsibility again. And then my body started to scream. Mm-hmm. My mind started to scream, and I was having a midlife crisis at 31. 32, 31. And yeah, I had to undo my entire life. So I had to get divorced. I had young children to take care of. I had to undo everything. So I had my dark night of the soul in 2016. And so I had to conquer my mental slavery. The mental stuff was really the big stuff. So I knew about presence. Okay, this is what I'm talking about, things that click, okay, but maybe in layers. You could understand the theory, but you don't really apply it. If you don't apply it, it's not applied properly yet. At least in my case, it wasn't. I was being present, but in my mind. It made sense to me at the time until I was fully present in the sense of presence, like the real presence, the presence that Tina was talking about. I was talking about some other presence. I was like, yeah, I'm present. What present are you doing?
I know. I remember when it clicked for you, and I'm like, what have you been doing all this time?
I was present in my mind. No, totally. It's all process. It's a process of understanding, because I was still being held. I was still in my mind. I was still functioning from an unconscious state, but trying to be aware of it and present in my thoughts.
So what does that mean?
Present in my body.
What does that mean to be present in your thoughts?
So, for example, like when we were cooking together, Tina and I was cutting, but I was thinking presently about how to cut it. Where, as opposed to just being in the moment and just fucking doing it. When you said just cut the fucking onion, I was technically really present the way you're supposed to, but it was in my mind present. Does that make sense? But again, I need people to understand that I was all mental. My whole life was mental and dissociated. So I had to come in slowly. So I started in the head and made my way down the train all the way to my feet.
Yeah, because you're so used to being out of the body all the time. When you're in the mind, cycling through and spiraling through the mind all the time, you're not in the body. No. And what does it mean to be in the body? It means to pull your energy down, at least into your heart space, to where your mind isn't spiraling out of control and just taking you on, crazy train rides.
Yeah, I took a lot of train rides. And what's interesting is that when I finally was able to anchor myself fully in the body, and again, I need to stress that my stuff happened in layers and in process. So I was able, through my healing, through somatic healing, which was another step of coming more into my body. So like Tina said, I was in my head, I came down a little bit more, it's like, the on the internet where it's like loading. It loaded real slow for that. Okay. So it was loading, came into my body, and where was I? Yeah, I did somatic healing later on because I had mastered my mind. Well, I mastered it pretty good to that point where it wasn't where I had not, well, I banished my ego. Actually, I didn't integrate my ego yet at this point. Banished my ego and was able to be here in my head, but more here than jumping out and dissociating. So, but what was interesting though, like Tina was a really big mirror to me. And I'll say that we spent more time together in the physical. And I remember we did a New Year's video. Yeah, a New Year's video. And we're talking about traumas that we went through. And I was fun, like a cool as a cucumber talking about it, Like, yeah, let's talk about that. That was hard, And we took a break after the whole thing was done. She's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm great. That was good." Like that was a really good video. She's like, "Are you sure you're fine?" I'm like, "Yeah." And when she says that, I was like, the wheels started spinning. I'm like, "Am I fine?" I felt fine in my mind. I thought that healing was really like me, mental slavery. I didn't know that my body was like, yo, we are not good. We relive that again. I didn't want to think about that. That was really traumatizing. Like, why did you bring that up? And I was like, shit. That was an aha moment for me.
That was huge.
That was an aha moment for me because the coherence between my mind and my body there was a block. So that was another bridge I had to do. So I did a lot. That's when I started tapping. That's when I started to learn about somatic healing. I took that healing into my own hands and did research about how to heal my traumas in my body. And from the layers of the healing that I did from my the body healing, came out memories that I had blocked and suppressed from childhood, other ones. So it's like really interesting how, it unfolds. And I hate saying peeling of the onion because that's so ugly. But I just had to, you just see how like when one card falls, another card's like, and here's another one. And you have to look at it again. And then you're like, you heal, that you don't have an emotional reaction anymore. You put that one down and it's like, here's another one, It's always like that. But then you're able to maintain it, knowing like where I came, like before we were talking about what I just did recently. I had worked so hard from 2016 to now that I was, like I said, I was able to recognize that a child was having a tantrum. I was able to know that something was bothering me. I was able to see, because Tina was like trying to prod it out of me, and I was so fucking uncomfortable. I'm like, could you not ask me any questions, woman? But again, I know my patterns. So, and because I'm a yes girl, I had to go against when I resist. I know that's where I gotta go and heal. And it's fucking uncomfortable. And I validate that for everybody. And I understand why no one will want to do the work. I get it. But when my body says no, I'm taking it by the hand and I said, let's go together. Let's go see. Let's go see what's under the latex.
Yeah. You're really brave.
Well, thank you.
I think you're the bravest person I know.
Oh,
I know you're the bravest person I know.
oh, likewise. Thank you.
You're welcome. You
Yeah.
deserve it. You know, everyone, I've never really had any friends because I'm such a strong, it's true. I'm such a strong mirror to people that they run away. And no one ever listens to me. Karen was the only person to ever listen to me and to ever be strong enough to stand in front of me and look in the mirror and then do the work required.
Yeah.
And that is really brave without running away, even though you wanted to a million times.
I think I did a little bit, but I also came back. I think I had to like get away for a little bit. I'm not, but that's just like again a reflection of my own shit and not wanting to deal. But I get that's why I understand. I understand people when they don't want to. I used to be one to vent all the time and talk about it to everybody, every single person. I used to be like that. I had to
Where you
talk
just
about
talk
it.
about let's talk about stories, right? The stories that we tell and retell and retell and retell.
That you know
Like,
it so well that you say the same fucking words.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. I did that.
What
I did.
stories, yeah, and what stories are we telling about ourselves? I remember, like, yeah, the stories I was telling about myself is basically I'm a victim, you know, all this stuff has happened to me. I've had such a shitty life. I mean, if anybody has had a shitty life script, you could count me in. Count me in there.
I don't even think mine was bad, but it was bad. And I guess because of physical sensitivity and not knowing, I guess what frustrated me the most, and I do see that it does frustrate me even today when it's so obvious and you can't see it. But I have to understand too that my lens, I mean, like the whole presence thing is really embarrassing, you know. But I have to put myself in the shoes that it's hard to let go of stories. It's hard to let go of your identity. It's hard
Well,
to ask yourself, who am I? If I without these stories or without the suffering or without all the things that, you know,
yeah.
it's scary
Mhm.
because, and I said this, and I find this had helped me again. I've seen people stand in front of Tina's mirror and they've all fled. They all don't like it. They all projected it back onto her. And it's a weird phenomenon, I have to say. Which is why I stand so proudly like John Cena in front of the reflection. But it took time. It only took recently that I see myself as John Cena. But um but that's the thing. It's like you have to be willing to see a little bit. You have to be, it is brave, I guess, in a way, to not walk away from yourself.
Yeah. You have
um
to be not, you know, because society teaches us to cast aside our dirty parts of ourselves, you know? And we should be doing the opposite. You know, we have to integrate our shadow parts. We have to look at the parts of ourselves that aren't so pretty because that's where the healing is. You know,
yeah,
it's in that it's that we need to integrate. Yeah, we have a lot of, you know, because that's what we're trained to only present to the world is this false facade of who we are. When underneath of that, you know, we're sad, we're angry, we're fearful, we're, you know, whatever those things are. And we don't look at those parts of ourselves. They're abandoned. We self betray and self abandon.
yeah, you do exactly what was done to you because that's all you know. um and again, like with her reflection being so strong, and I say this every time, the only reason why I came back to my reflection was because I knew that the person who was looking at me, apart from me, I didn't see it at the time, but that she loved me through it. That was really it. It didn't matter how ugly what was in the closet. And I told her like all the dirty secrets, like all the secrets. And it was just like, this is where the healing is, because you have to be honest. You have to be willing to let it all go. And that your past, everybody has a past. Everybody's got skeletons, everybody's got shit. And everybody's got stories. But you have to let go of the stories too. Because again, it's like, who are you without them? You have to redefine yourself or whatever, or just see yourself as a divine being in the end, period.
Yeah.
But really the turning point for her, like with my storytelling or my victimhood, because it was so deep. Poor fucking me. Poor me. No one cares. And she's like, you're fucking right. Nobody gives a shit. And I was like, well, that's fucking mean. But if she's saying it, it's gotta be true. It's true. Where's fucking everybody? No one's there. No one gives a shit. And then I let it go. It was a choice. I made that choice right then and there, because it was a point of logic where someone had to tell me the honest truth and it hurt me, but it fucking snapped me like back, like, wake up. And then the light switch went on and I was like, fuck yeah, I'm not holding on to this shit anymore. It's not serving me. What's it gonna do? Like the newspaper's gonna write about like my poor fucking sad me stories? No, don't do the shit.
It's true. Nobody, and I had to learn that the hard way, you know? So like everything that I am reflecting back to you, like I've been through that. That's why I'm able to recognize it in you. So I know that no one fucking gives a shit. Like nobody cares.
Yeah, right.
Nobody cares.
No, it's true.
So
Nobody
the stories that you're telling over and over and over and reinforcing to your subconscious, reinforcing these stories about who you are and how you're a victim and how you're a victim to the matrix. And, you know, all of these things that we're constantly reinforcing, that victim consciousness, it is not doing us any good. We need to transcend that. We need to start believing in our power, in the truth of who we are. The reason why we're victimized is because we act like victims.
that is a collective thing.
Yeah.
Victim. Look what's been done to me. That's all the blaming. All the fingers are being put that way.
Right.
And not having to take accountability. Yeah, shit happened to me. Shit happened to her. But if no one's going to give a shit, then how the hell are we going to get out of this shit? No one's gonna fucking break me up.
No, we gotta
myself up.
Yeah, it's self-responsibility. Self-responsibility. No one else is gonna do it. No one else is gonna do it. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to liberate ourselves. We have to heal ourselves. No one else can do it for you. Like we say all the time, we can't heal you. We're just guides. We've done the healing, so we know how to do it. So we'll walk you home to yourself. But ultimately, you are the one doing the healing. And the results of that healing, it's always up to you and how much you can allow yourself to go to those places that aren't so nice to go to.
No, you know? It's not nice. It's really not. It's not. Like when you're in it, of course, it hurts. That's normal. But
the release you feel afterwards and the empowerment that you feel, you know, it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
Yeah. I'm still working through it. We're always working through things. It's just recognizing it and creating your, you know, quality of life. It's always about your quality of life now while you're here.
Yeah.
You can remain a victim of this matrix, or you could actually not feed the matrix anymore by having a good fucking life. You know?
Yeah. Empower yourself.
Feed off you.
Right. Because our stories keep us stuck. Our stories keep us stuck. We have to let go of the stories. We have to let go of those identities that we've created for ourselves and just be a divine being, just be a creator and start creating the life that you want. You know, because what happens is, so what can happen is, you know, someone gets into like a depression, anxiety type state, then they get attachments And then those attachments start feeding them thoughts, feeding them visions, and really negative things. And then that energy starts to build on itself and build on itself. And then you start to believe those things that the entities are telling you. So then that gets lodged in your subconscious, and then you stop believing in your power to heal. You stop believing in the light. You stop believing that there's any good. And there's a lot of people going through this right now with the awakening that's happened over the past couple years, really awakening into the depth of evil on this planet. That's not easy for people, especially for people that have believed in the light, have believed that there's good. These entities want us to be spiraling down into that negativity. They want us to believe that there's nothing good here. There's no light here. It's just all fucking evil. It's all archonic. And that's just not true. But when they can convince us of that, then they have more to feed from, because we're living our lives in a spiral of negativity and feeding those evil forces. Because they want nothing more than to keep us down, to keep us living in these states of suffering. So, yeah. So the point of the work we do is to help empower you to take back your own power and your own sovereignty, and to heal, so you can really fully step into your divine self and start living from that place, instead of from an unhealthy ego state, or the inner child, or any of the parts of you that are still in that deep suffering. But it's really about empowerment and sovereignty. So that's why we integrate remote spirit release and quantum healing. There's such a perfect combination, because you clear the entities and you do the deep work that fills in the access points so that they can't hook in.
Totally.
Yeah.
See it like putting silly putty on the holes, or the leaks, you see where the leaks are. Yeah, it's a lot of work, a lot. But it does get easier. It really does.
Oh, absolutely. It gets easier. Yeah.
That's what we want to stress too. Like, it's hard in the beginning, because you have to understand, like, when you're not fully seeing yourself, you're still in victimhood because of all the stuff that's happening to you, and trying to break free from those belief systems that you can't break free from, that there's always this and that, and that's happening, it's manifesting my reality and all that. Yeah, it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort on your part to break away from those belief systems and programs.
There's a couple of people in our group that have had RSRs and just totally like taken off and really started to take their power back, and it really empower themselves to recognize that they are powerful. And I just love to see that. And I love to see these, subtle shifts in people that happen, after their sessions, not just in the everyday life, in the experience of living, because, we could talk about all these things, but if we're not integrating them into our experience and actually living it, then it doesn't really do any good. We have to live it,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All the theory that you've accumulated, you actually have to apply to do it. Do the work. That's what we keep saying. Do the work. I hope that was a little clear on what the work is, at least from what I've done and what Tina's done too.
Elena D says, so there's a rumor that they are us from the future, but after we've been augmented with AI and engineered past the point of no return, like if the current agendas got their way, but far into the future. Yeah, I'm aware of that theory. This is about the Greys. It's a very interesting theory. I can see how that could be a thing, because at the rate we're going now, we should do a whole video about this, but there's a show on Gaia right now called Artificial Immortality. Has anyone seen that? It's so good. It's the one with the Deepak Chopra AI.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
We gotta watch that together. But it's
Yeah.
all about how they're trying to, well, that they are like uploading our consciousness into these computers so that we can be immortal after death, you know, and it's all part of this process of um, transhumanism, like just ushering us right into that. And people are falling for it. I mean, if Deepak Chopra is falling for it, or he's probably at the head of it, like who knows? But like if these influential spiritual people are going in this direction, then what chance does humanity have?
Yeah, especially with the following. That's a thing. You don't want people to follow nobody. You want to have your own path, be able to discern your own path, create your own path, not follow someone who's going to tell you what to do next. Even though we're telling you to heal. But that's the whole thing. We're telling you to heal so that you don't have to follow nobody. You are your own path. You want to get out of that because it's all a hive mind program. So we got to get out of the hive mind program so that we can be sovereign.
And be careful not to fall into the other traps of the smaller hive mind programs that break off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to see the pendulum one way, come into try. The goal is to be in a balanced state, right in the middle, where you're observing. You're not holding on to one absolute truth. You can hold all truths and not hold any at all at the same time.
Yeah.
You can just observe it, see where it takes you, we'll see what it is, because no one knows. No one knows anything. You can know what you're going to do, or how to get out of here, but no one knows if that's really how it's going to be.
Yeah.
You can't hold that as like a thing. Like, okay, I got the elixir,
Does anyone have any questions? I'm going to have to go soon. Coco's starting to.
Well, I appreciate everyone who's shown up, and thank you for listening to the rant. But yeah, please like our video if you liked it, or just to support us. And if you want to share it, just to, maybe a buddy who really needs some uplifting or some motivation in their path, we're here. All we really want to do is to help people to get to, the kind of level of freedom where we're at. I do feel free, a lot more free every day. Sometimes it does feel like we regress a little bit, but then, God, the acceleration when you know your tricks and you know your points of vulnerability and, well, patching them, going through them in a healthy way, just catapults you out. So you're not held back, so much.
And the way this matrix works is that we go through these periods of expansion and contraction and expansion and it's the sine wave, right? So it's never really level. Like you're always going to be going up and down like a roller coaster. That's just the way the reality is built here. Mm-hmm. And but you can make the time between those contractions a lot longer when you do the healing work.
Oh yeah, right? That's the whole thing. The whole cycle gets longer.
Right.
But in the beginning, it's like,
yeah.
And then it gets a little longer. It gets a bigger.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
It gets easier, and we want to encourage people, and you'll hear it a lot. We want people to recognize, if you're highly targeted, there's a reason why you're being targeted. You have to see that, the more targeted you are, probably the more powerful you are. So look at it like that. We can't give so much of our power to the dark. And again, the dark needs to feed off of something. This is why it's feeding off of the collective unconscious. And if you look at a dark room and you bring in your light, your flashlight to illuminate it, it goes away. The darkness goes. Mm-hmm. So
should we pull a card real quick?
Yeah, we could pull a card. We haven't pulled a card in a while. Is that too frou-frou for some people? Like, oh,
Oh,
just kidding.
like
I don't care. I like the cards too.
let's see,
I think maybe
messages.
sometimes we just need a little bit of encouragement or
As long as your channel is clear.
yeah,
Oh,
openness. What's it say?
hold on.
What was our intention? What do we need to know today?
What do we need to know? Oh, look at that. Empowerment.
Ha! Told you.
How cool is that?
Empowerment. See?
When you ask the divine self to take over, you get pulled into your own authentic power. It's a force of inner love that wants your wholeness and magnificence. Unfold my true and radiant self.
There you go.
So this one came out too. Companionship.
Oh. Yes.
When you fully bless and embrace your aloneness, you're ready for the ones who are meant to be with you. May I welcome this solitude, knowing it will open the way for all healthy relationships. I bet there's a lot of people here that feel alone right now.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
But it's good to be in that space and
Focusing on yourself
yeah,
in your healing.
totally. Absolutely.
Alone
I
time.
don't. Yeah, go ahead.
Alone time is good because you get to be with yourself. You get to know who you are without the influence of a million other people in your space.
And if that triggers you, you got to look at why you can't be alone. You know, it's important to see, to be able to sit with yourself and love that person.
Right. And you don't want to just fill your space with just people, just to have people around you. You want quality people. You know, you want empowered people. You want people who are on a similar path to you. You know, like real, true companionship, not just space fillers who are just going to bring their, negative
entities
and entities into your space. Yeah. The quality of the people around you absolutely matters. And when you start awakening and start doing this work, your circle gets smaller and smaller and smaller because the people that aren't meant for you just begin to fall away, or you have to create boundaries with people who are toxic in your life. And those aren't easy things to do. But yeah, it's definitely what's required. Like I literally have one friend. I'm fine with that. Totally fine with that, like besides online people. I've always been like that though. I never needed a lot of friends. I was really always happy if I had one good friend. I really was. Like I never wanted or needed a lot of friends because it just felt shallow and empty to me. The depth was never there. So, yeah.
Bless.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming.
Hi, Elizabeth.
We're gonna check again, like the live chat. If there's any questions that we didn't answer, we'll answer it in the commentary. So if you come back and check to see, we hope to answer your questions.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to finish this thought about the grays real quick. So yeah, if anyone hasn't seen Artificial Immortality, definitely check that out. And so the grays, there is that theory that they're us from the future, which could be a possibility. But then someone raised a good question about why
are we so good looking?
Why are they, if they're taking our DNA to recreate themselves and creating these hybrid children and then mixing those hybrid children with the human race right now, wouldn't that eventually lead to more distortions in the race, you know?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really make sense. But when you see it from a different perspective, say they aren't humans from the future, say they are like, aliens. Um, and they were trying to infiltrate our society, and then they would be taking our DNA, blending that with theirs, creating these hybrid type uh, beings, children, who some look close to human, some look more gray, but some can actually pass for human. So then they integrate them into the society. Those people start breeding with full bred humans, and then those genes get passed on, and it just creates this weird genetic mix of things. And you see the direction we're moving into with the transhumanism. So it's a little bit fishy to me, and I don't think anyone really knows, but it's definitely
I say it
something
all
to
exists.
question.
I don't think it's just one thing. Like, not everybody's gonna go into the gray zone. I think it's like, again, some people are, some people aren't. Some people DNA are more dominant than that, and then some are very obviously gray. Like,
Yeah.
so
I'm
I
reading
mean,
an
it's everything, I think.
I'm
Again.
reading an interesting book. I think it's called Walking Among Us, and it's about the hybrid children. It's about a hypnotherapist who writes about his sessions with people that he's had that have been involved in this program, and they're actually talking about how they're already walking among us. They're already integrating here.
I bet.
So, yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah. Anyway, on that note,
Yeah. Well, anyway, thank you everyone for coming. We appreciate you. Again, like and subscribe if you'd like. And we'll see you again. If you have any questions or comments, like just comment or ask us and we'll answer. And we'll probably see you again whenever that is. No regular scheduled program, but when we show up, we show up. And if you're here, thank you. And if you see this on a pre-recorded or like later on, thank you for being here. And we'll see you again. Sending love to everybody. Take care.
big love.
Bye.
Love you guys.